I would like to introduce what Pyramid Times is about before we go into the webinar. Pyramid Times is a platform where we are spreading new age spirituality, enlightened entrepreneurship, and also leadership wisdom across the globe. So our YouTube channel is available currently. You can go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And all the updates related to our events or videos will be posted onto our Facebook page. You can go and like the page. I would like to introduce the speaker for the day, Hitesh Vashisht. Hitesh Vashisht has worked in the field of mind-body energy connection work. He has trained in many alternative healing modalities like past life regression, inner child work, life between lives regression, family constellation, ancestral healing, rebirthing breath work, to name a few. So he is also a consciousness coach, and with more than 100 workshops, he has helped 20,000 plus people in finding balance in their lives. Hitesh is also an author of bestseller book Sundaram Speaks, Conversations to Awaken Your Soul's Wisdom. He is also an award-winning coach par excellence, a workshop leader and healer with a decade and of experience in the field of human behavior. He is an internationally registered consciousness coach with Certified Coaches Alliance CCA and International Coach Federation ICF. He has given more than 5,000 one-on-one healing and coaching sessions, having done master's degree in human resource management. He had also worked in apparel, fashions, real estate, education, automotive and telecom sectors. He has coached CEOs, bureaucrats, doctors, teachers, housewives, children, helping them realize that they are whole and capable of achieving anything and everything. So today's topic is going to be on soulful parenting. Let's invite Hitesh Vashisht to Pyramid Times webinar. Welcome, Hitesh.
Hi, hello, Veena. Thank you everybody. Thank you for having me. So I would suggest that I will go with the topic of today's talk. So let me just begin the presentation, which I have for all of you. As I decided that today's talk is going to be about soulful parenting, and majorly it is going to be running around what are the 10 principles of the soulful parenting. Now, as a life coach, as a consciousness coach, I come across people from wide variety of different stratas of society, and people coming from the corporate world, people coming from the teaching background, and housewives, and even teenagers. Many a times I have found out that people have issues managing and parenting their own children, and that is one of the reasons that leads them into the area of self work, self improvement. So whenever I talk to, especially to parents, I usually hear the issues that they share with me, and the most important issues that they have their children is that their children don't listen to them. Their child doesn't listen to them, or maybe the child is too stuck to the gadgets, that he or she doesn't know that there can be some other work available at home as well. And then they don't study, they don't eat, and they're too aggressive or too temperamental in nature. At times I feel that raising these questions would be of not much help to any of the parent, because that doesn't raise a self inquiry within you. Your children are made from you. But when we keep questioning the children and we never try to look within, then this is going to be a parenting which is centric in the in the parent's way, which means that parent is only trying to look outside and is not using parenting as an opportunity to grow within. So this is what made me, think over the 10 principles of soulful parenting. At the same time, when I work with children, I also see that, uh, since, they stay with their parents, there are many things that they wish to share with their parents. But it's just that parents feel that they are bigger than them. They are not able to absorb it in the same capacity. So for children to learn, the parents must learn and teachers must learn. And that is how children can learn. Well, they really don't need any learning because as children, we were intelligent, we were born intelligent. So today's intent is going to be introducing you to a concept called the soulful parenting, which, when applied, can really help us to improve our relationship with children. Not only our children, all the children that we work with, that is going to be, helpful in that state. So if we really wish to, have the transformation, if we really wish to experience transformation, there is one important thing that we all need to do. And what is that one important thing that we all need to do so that we can experience transformation? And that is that we come out of our I know syndrome. What is I know syndrome? Usually, this is the syndrome which says that I know it all. I know it all. So, this is the biggest barrier to our learning. This is the biggest barrier to our own transformation that doesn't allow us to, experience something which is beyond our knowing. And since we are, in the shackles of our own knowing, we are not open to new learning. So children also, in a way, they encourage us to learn in new ways. But when we are fixated in our own ways, we are, kind of caged in this syndrome, which is I know syndrome. So if we want to know anything, if we want to go beyond, and if we want to experience transformation, we must come out of I know syndrome. Rather, we should be in I don't know syndrome, which means I really don't know and I'm open to explore it. When we are open to explore something new, the same thing which we saw in that same repetitive way, in the same perspective that we were fixated at, the same thing can give us something new. Every time we do something, we will learn something new out of the same thing. That is what, the possibility which is outside of I know syndrome. And therefore, I encourage you to absorb this presentation, to absorb this session outside of I know syndrome. Because if you stay in I know syndrome, you will not be able to experience transformation first in yourself and would not be able to bring that transformation in the relationship that you share with your child. That is why we must come out of I know syndrome. So, to start with, I'm showing you the brain scan of 2 3 years old kids. This is the brain scan of 2 3 years old kids. In the first scan, under which the normal is written, if you see that, the brain scan, you will see that it's a normal size of the brain which is functioning normal. On the other side, when you see that there is, the scan of the other, another child, which wherein the brain is little shrunk, it is smaller in size and is shrunk, as compared to the first one. There is a difference between the situation of these two children. And what is the difference? The difference is that the first children had a normal parenting wherein he had a normal access to the father, to the mother, and he was loved, and the child had, had enough attention from the mother and father. On the other side, the other one, wherein the brain is little shrunk, this child experienced extreme neglect from the mother. Now, this doesn't mean that the mother was bad. It simply means that mother was busy in, day-to-day routines. She was working and managing home, because of which she was not able to give the quality time to the child. And child always, worked, kind of strive to have attention from the mother. That is what, created the extreme neglect in the child, wherein the child felt that my mother doesn't love me. And of course, when we have these thoughts, when and and this neglect stays for a longer time with us, what happens is that begins to grow up trauma in the child. And when that grows up trauma in the child, that leads to not experience the growth in the physical body, not only just the physical, but in the mental and the emotional state as well. I can see that there are certain questions that are coming up. Okay, I will read all of them later. For now, I continue with what we are talking about. Now, the research says these children one day are going to grow. They are going to grow up and become the adults. The normal one will become a normal adult. The one who has faced the extreme neglect, it is quite likely that this child grows up as a temperamental, angry adult, and at the same time, it is going to be, uh, little prone to the criminal, being a criminal, and at the same time carrying someone who has suicidal thoughts, someone who carries the deep feeling of abandonment and rejection. So, it's not that the imprints of the child, what the child felt, is going to be there and then it's over. No, it's going to stay with the child for a very long, long, long time. Even when he grows up and as adult, till our last breath, it is going to be so much strong. So, the child psychology says that the first 7 years of our life are the most important years in the foundation of who we are. And whatever we experience in the first 7 years of our life, it kind of lays the foundation for the years to come. So that is what, every child struggles for, you know, to have these first, first 7 years in the most beautiful and the nourishing way. That is what the right of every child is. In a parent centric upbringing, a child experiences the denial of choice, thinking, creativity, expression, and emotion. So, as children, we all have experienced these, 5 levels of denial, right? We say every child goes through that. And what are these denials? The first one is called the denial of choice. We are not allowed to make the choices, you know uh, uh, pick up the choice according to our wishes. For example, right, starting from the food that we are going to eat, and then going to the clothes that we are going to wear, everything is being set by the parents. There is no option called this or that. And at times there is only this option. And usually parents are, centered in an approach wherein they say my way or highway, which means either you follow my way or there is no other way. So which means there is no choice. The freedom of choice, that is not there. What happens to this child when this child grows up as an adult? They are not able to make better choices in their life then, right? They are not able to grow independent. They are not able to make choices on their own because they don't trust their own inner, voice, which can really guide them. And then thinking, there is a denial of the thinking. There is certain specific form of thoughts that we can think over, right? There are not other thoughts that we are allowed to think over. For example, this is good, this is bad, This we should not think, this we should think, and thinking of this is a crime, is a sin, and thinking of this will lead us to, you know, to God and being good to everybody, and receiving that tag of good boy or a good girl. And then denial of creativity. The child might would like to do a work in 10 different ways, and that is how the child would like to explore the creative aspect of it. But usually when we are centered in our own way, we are not open to allowing the child to explore it in its own ways, and that leads to the shunning of the creative element of the child. And same goes with the expression. We don't allow the child to express the way they want to express. We say, uh, there is a certain way that you should behave in the in the society, and we want them to follow it. For example, the very nature of the child is playful. The child wants to play all the time, and the moment we see that the child, this child, playful child, is jumping on the sofa, we make the child to sit down and we say, keep quiet, don't do it, shut up. Right? These are the ways wherein we are trying to stop the expression of the child. And at the same time, it also comes to the the expression of the emotions. The child goes through the variety of emotions, right? There are ups, there are downs, there are highs and there are lows. And since they are so open because they were born like that, they want to experience every emotion in the full form, in the full intensity. But the moment they experience an emotion which is a fear based emotion, we don't like it. We want them to not experience it. Fear based emotion could be anger, hatred, and especially anger. We don't want them to express it. We say, oh, you are a bad boy, right? That is what we tag them into. And at times when the child feels the pain, we tell them that, why do you feel the pain? For example, if a child has fallen down and has got a little hurt over the hand, what does usually a parent do? A parent would usually try to take the attention away. A parent would try to show him something else and would say, oh, you are a brave man, you are a brave man, oh, you killed an ant on the floor, nothing happened to you. What are you trying to do when you say this? You're actually trying to take the child away from the pain the child is experiencing. Now, what is child creating out of it in his mind? First thing is that he needs to be brave all the time, because you are saying, oh, you are a brave man, you don't feel the pain. The second thing is, child feels it is not normal to feel the pain, because only weak people feel the pain. The third thing the child feels is that whensoever you feel the pain, you must numb it, right? Whensoever you feel the painful emotions, painful feelings, you must numb it. And that's what is happening. When they grow up, they are not aware of their own feelings. They don't know what they are feeling. I meet many times, in my work, I meet a lot of people who are not even aware of what they are feeling because they are being numbed. And where did it start? It started all in the childhood, because we were not allowed to experience the emotions, the variety of emotions that we carried. And what is the consequence of it? When we don't have that emotion, the emotions get stuck in our body, in our etheric body, and our heart gets closed. And when the same child becomes an adult and marries a woman, he is not able to express the love to the woman. He doesn't know how to express, he doesn't know how to experience joy, and he doesn't know that he can open up his heart and can experience what he wants to. And especially men, men are blocked here in their heart. And which is why, if you notice, there are more number of heart attack cases in men rather than women, because they're closed at heart. They have never felt, they are not allowed to feel their emotional center. They don't feel the emotions, the feelings. And this chain keeps going, from one person to another. The way you've been grown up, you make the child, your own child, grow up the same way. And that is what we are struggling with. So what is soulful parenting? Soulful parenting is is basically the parenting which is not based on herd mentality. What is herd mentality? Herd mentality with the parents means, what is the world going to say? What are people going to say? If you do this, what are the people going to say? That is a herd mentality. Herd mentality means you are putting your child in the same things that you did, the choices that you made and choices that the world made. You don't want the child to have their own unique expression. Everybody in this world has come up to express their own unique expression. They're here to explore and showcase their own unique creative talents. But when the parents are fixed on something, when the caretakers are fixed on certain way, what happens to the child is the child has to let go of the uniqueness that child carries. And what happens to this child when it grows up? It grows up into an unconfident, low self-esteem human adult, right? And this person is just struggling throughout his life with that low self-esteem, low confidence. It is not happening to that person. And then soulful parenting is also about building a strong character than the sound career. Of course, there is one of the goals that that parenting carries, and that is that you give good education, sound education to your child. But that is not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal of the parenting is to help your child build a right character, which is actually sown in the seed of who you actually are. It is actually sown in the virtues of the soul, right? A character is built up from the virtues of the soul, right? But when there is too much of focus only on making the career, then you miss on building the character. Just to give you an example, if we go around and if we ask all these people, you know uh, who have been successful in our eyes, let's say in our own terms, if we go and connect with all these people and if we ask them what had made them reach who they are today, the place where they are today, is it the study, or is it the character, the creativity, and the confidence that they created? You will get your answer when you speak to them. And that is what I'm trying to bring your attention on. Soulful parenting helps the child to build their character drenched in the feelings of in the wisdom of the soul. It is the soul based learning on which the parenting is based, rather than making your child a money making machine. No, not like that. Because in today's world, what happens is the money is considered to be the sole factor of becoming successful. But a soulful parent would always know that that is not the ultimate parameter of child's growing into an happy adult, right? It is the goal of every parent, it is the responsibility of every parent to help their child know their unique talent. Because if the child, when it grows up, it doesn't know what is it, what's the unique thing that it has, he or she has brought to the earth, that means somewhere he is not been explored into that realm, or he's been not allowed to get exposed into the realm of finding its own uniqueness, right? And then a willingness to believe that the child knows some things we do not know. even if she is not able to verbalize it. So soulful parenting is far, far, far away from, the egocentric way of the parenting, or we can also say the unconscious parenting, wherein the parent feels I am the ultimate. I have the experience. I know more than the child. But the soulful parenting is something wherein the child is considered equal to your own self, right? And the parent knows that even if the child is, smaller in age, it doesn't mean that the soul's age is also smaller than me, right? It is quite likely that the child knows more than me, because the child carries the innate intelligence of the universe, which is much more than the bookish and all that we've created over the period of time by way of education, right? We were born intelligent, right? And I'm sure you all must have experienced the intelligence of the child. The small children, the way they question, the way they ask you, the reasoning of few things, you will realize that the kind of intelligence they carry. So, which is why a parent should be open to experience that, which comes in the way of parenting, not to block itself and say that, oh, I have learned everything and now my child should take, that learning from me. So, soulful parenting is not the herd mentality. It helps the child to create its own unique expression, rather explore its unique expression. It focuses on building the character of the child, which is drenched in the energy of the wisdom of the soul. And the fourth one is wherein the father and the mother, they know that even if the child is not able to verbalize much of the things, still the child can know more than us, right? And which means that the child can have, child is the bearer of this innate intelligence, which is God given in nature. So this is what the soulful parenting is. Now we will be talking about what are the principles of this soulful parenting, so that we can try to bring them into our life and you know uh, continue with the energy of this soulful parenting in our relationship. The first principle is the principle of being conscious, right? We all were born conscious, right? We are conscious beings even if we are unconscious of many things, right? We uh, we we are the beings that can do well, that have been doing well when we are into this state of awareness. What is being conscious? Being conscious means that even if we live in the outside world, we always carry an inner eye, wherein we always try to reflect the outside things into our inner zone. We go back in our inner zone and see things from that space. Usually what happens is when we are parenting the child, we are so unconscious in our way of acting, behaving, saying things, and doing certain things, that we don't even know that what impact or what space is it coming from within, which means there is no element of self reflection when we are living into our day to day life. Know that when the parent is unconscious, the child is attuned to grow into the same way. Initially, the child is conscious because we all were born in that sacred part. But when the child sees that the mother, father, or the major world is just moving in the same way, then they also begin to get into that zone of wherein they are not conscious of their own self. They grow up into the same adult. Children face issues in their life, each and everybody, you, I, everybody, each one of us. When we were growing up, we had problems, we faced problems. But what does a conscious parent does? A conscious parent, as soon as the child faces any problem in their life, they immediately turn within and they see in what intensity is this issue present in me? That's what they do. They are very reflective in nature. So for example, if your child is extremely temperamental in nature, you know, the child is angry. Now, instead of first focusing on, fixing the child, don't be angry, or you cannot do this, and then, first, trying to make the child understand without being angry yourself. And then ultimately, you also land up into the zone of being angry towards the child. If the child is loud in the word, you speak louder than the child so that the child could know who is the bigger one, who. That's what we do in the unconscious ways. But in the conscious ways, as soon as the child is angry, as soon as the child feels that temperamental issue, the the father or the mother will first turn within to see in what intensity this anger or this temperament is present in me, because they believe that the child is their own reflection. And that is the most important thing in your own growth. If you don't grow as a parent, you will not be able to transfer that growth to your child. You will not be able to transform that, churn the creative element of your child. And then, as I said, that we are growing up children who are just standing into that herd mentality. We don't need to. It is like killing the uniqueness of the child, which is why every child needs to be conscious. If you are not conscious, I would suggest take a moment to become first conscious and then make a choice to become a parent, right? And if you are a parent already, I would, invite you to, delve into the zone of self introspection. Use your child as a reflection of your own self, and see that in what ways, in what intensity is this issue or problem present in me, right? Because you first correct it there, only then you can, help the child to overcome it. Otherwise it's going to be a temporary fixing. The child will not ultimately come out of it, because you yourself is struggling with such issues in your inner world. Okay. And that's what being conscious is. We all meditate. Why do we meditate? Because meditation is a way of making us realize that we are conscious beings. Meditation is a way to turn within, wherein we close ourselves from the outer world, and we close these gross eyes, and we open up this inner eye. What is it? This is the art of being conscious to every breath that we take, every feeling that we feel, every thought that we experience. We just let them come and we let them go, right? And in this space, when we are in total space of witness, the insights emerge. That's what being conscious means. So the second principle says principle of inner child. Now, what is the principle of inner child? The principle of inner child says that each one of us, even if we've grown 40, 50, 80, 90 years old, each one of us, despite of our age, we all carry a little child, little boy, little girl within. And this little boy, little child, little girl is influenced by what we've gone through as a child. So, there is a constant communication that goes inside our head of basically three parties, right? And what is it? It is especially the two. The first one is the child and the parent. There is a child in us, there is a parent in us, right? A child inside us would like to explore something, you know in life. And the parent in us, there is this voice which at times is imbibed from our own parents, and the way our parents spoke to us, we speak to our inner child the same way, right? So for example, if somebody as a child has experienced that they were good for nothing and they've been told several times, this inner voice, inner parent voice, will say the same thing to the child, even when they are trying to pick up any important assignment, in the office, starting a project, doing a new thing. Every time they bring, this adult tries to do something, the inner voice will first doubt, which is the doubt of the child, and would say, can I do it? And then eventually the voice of the inner critic parent will speak and say, you cannot, you would not be able to do it, you are not good for nothing. And it's not just that it is the parent's voice that the child absorbs, it is also the societal pressure that we all have gone through. It is the parental control that we've gone through. It is, the school pressure that we've gone through, the performance pressure that we've gone through. Everything has an impact on, who we are, how did we live as a child. Initially, we all were born godlike, right? We all were gods. We were actually the manifestations of God because we were sacred, we were pure, and we carried that, all the qualities that the divine being would carry. We were prayerful, we were, all accepting of everything, that happened to us. Especially, for example, children, they don't know what is good or bad, right? For example, if you talk about, uh, let's say, for them, they accept everything, right? And I'm sure you must have seen children playing in their own pee and their own, their own potty. What do? For them, it is not, it is, they don't consider it to be bad because they consider it to be their own creation. But it is the caregiver that says, oh, this is bad, this is dirty. And that's how the child begins to, create the conditioning that what is good, what is bad. And now, such conditioning we all have gone through, and that is why we start to also, accept certain situations of life and reject certain situations of life, accept certain emotions, reject certain emotions, accept the good part of us, but we reject the bad part of us. And when we keep doing accepting and rejecting of many things that are within us, we become half, right? And there is a half part of us which is not acknowledged. And when this half part is not acknowledged, then we grow up in the similar sort of an adult, right? We grow up as a conditioned adult who carries a lot of good, what is good and what is bad, right? When you try to see the world, everything in a space of good and bad, you are missing the ability to see it in the space of beauty, right? We grow up in the same space, then we are missing to see the beauty of something that is there in the world, which is in the conglomeration of, this good and bad, which is beyond good and bad. We are not able to see that. And when we all experience this societal pressure, this parental control, the school pressure, we grow up into the same sort of an adult. And that becomes the root cause of, the unhappy, unsatisfied adult, right? We grow up into somebody who is trying to be competitive, who tries to prove itself in the world, and just wants to be successful in terms of career, money. But we will never think about our our sole purpose or any other thing. We will never think about that. So, which is why it says, the principle of inner child says that if we want to heal the child that is ours, that we've given birth to, we must first connect to the child that is there within us. If a father and mother carries a wounded inner child because of any traumas that the child must have faced, for example, you were not loved enough, or due to any reasons, the mockery with respect to your appearance or any other thing that you have gone through, you have grown up in the same adult. You carry the wounds of the past. And when you carry the wounds of the past, even if you've grown older and even if the time has passed by, but the wounds are still there, unconsciously you are going to pass the same things to your child. and the child is going to exactly show you what you were in the childhood. And that's why we say that before a child is healed in the outside world, we must first attend to the wounded child that we all carry within us. So that is the very first responsibility. If you can't embrace the sacred self that you have within you, you will not be able to help your child, embrace that sacred self, which somewhere, has been lost. Okay. And the third one, which is the principle of parental influence. Now, you are the parent to your child. At the same time, you are the child to your parents. So, the relationship that your child shares with you, which means that is your parent, you as parents, is directly proportional to the relationship that you share with your parents. Long time back, I remember that there came a lady who had a child of around 12 years, a girl child, and she said that I don't know all of a sudden what has happened to my girl, but she is extremely angry to me, and I really don't know the reason of it. Although I support her, I help her, I give the best that you know that I can. I'm trying to do that, but she is, she speaks to me in an irritated way. She's always frustrated. She's always irritated, towards me, and I don't know how to address this. When we did little bit of self reflection, we did little bit of soul searching, she realized that when she was 12 years of age, the same age of her daughter, she was also carrying the anger towards her mother. So this is it, right? Because the way you have experienced your relationship with your mother father is, having an impact on how your child has an experience or a relationship with you. You can't expect your child to be obedient to you when you yourself were a disrespectful, child. Now, of course, you can say that the past is over and each one of us have made mistakes. That's perfectly okay. Even if you were a non-obedient child, but you can still grow up your child as an obedient one. How? By seeing that are you still carrying those grudges against your mother, father in the same way? Have you healed your past in terms of your memories, in terms of your emotions or not? Because if inside, if you still carry the energy of anger, rage, and you know not having uh, respectful approach towards your parents, come what may, whatever you do, whether you say it, you verbalize it or not, the child will pick it up, because the child knows how to pick up things from your energy. And not only just energy, these things have been transferred to your child by way of your DNA. So, which is why, in order for your child to share a good relationship with you, you must look at your relationship with your children, right? Trust me, this is one of the most important things, especially the inner child and the parental influence. When I meet people, I see these two things that is what they really need to work. They want their child to become that, uh, that ideal child, like, Balak Dhruv, and, all these, like all those ideal sons, but at the same time they don't see in what capacity were they idle, right, to their own parents. Did they carry that respect? So whatever you carry for your parents, it's going to show up to the children. So which is why, if you want your children to follow you, you must model the right example, right? Even if in the past you did not share good relationship with your parents, but whensoever you talk about your parents, whensoever you remember your parents, you must remember them with respect, right? You must take charge of all the, the childhood wounds that you carry. You must learn to handle it then. I don't say that maybe your parents, did right to you or wrong to you. They did what they could do the best in their own circumstances. It is exactly the way you are trying to give your best to your children, because you are trying to give it best in your own capacities, right? And same way your parents did. So, for example, if you know. Uh, my mother beat me when I was a child, and she whenever she would teach me, this doesn't mean that she didn't love me. It's just that she only knew one way of dealing with the child, especially at the times of studies. And because we felt that, oh, only when we beat the child is able to give concentration, focus on the studies, and that's how he can sit erect and study, right? But there can be other ways too, and that those ways were not taught to us. Those ways can only be explored from within, which is why this conscious parenting, soulful parenting is what in the picture, so that you always look from within, you come from the deeper wisdom of your soul, and that is how you're going to transfer the same thing to your child. Okay. And the fourth principle, the principle of differentiation. What is this differentiation? Differentiation means that my emotions, my feelings, my way of looking at life, my philosophy is mine. And my children can have a philosophy that is different than mine. They can experience different emotions than mine. They can have different thoughts than mine. They can have a different, altogether a different life than mine. you know uh, a father who is a CA would always visualize his child becoming a CA, right? A doctor's family can only have space for doctors. Differentiation says that my child can have a different choice, right? My child can be free from what I had. So I had my own gifts and not so good things within me, but my child can have something different than me, right? But this doesn't mean then that the child doesn't love me. The child can be different than me. At the same time, I will still love the child, and the child will love me the same way, because it's not about what you do. It's about, what is the end goal, right? So, for example, the end goal of everything, the child is trying to do things from his own way, and you are trying to, help him understand things from his own way. The end goal in both the things is same. You want the child to be happy. Every father, every mother wants the child to be happy. So be open for the child to explore the world in their own ways. Let them reach to the zone of happiness in their own ways. Otherwise, they are going to be, uh, happy for a short while. They buy this laptop, they'll be happy. They'll buy this mobile, they'll be happy. Tomorrow, there is going to be another version, then they want that. They need vacation. I don't say that we don't have those worldly pleasures. Of course, we have it. But that is not the parameter for us to be feeling happy. Real happiness is something wherein there is no diminishing marginal utility, which means the the happiness that comes from that particular thing doesn't diminish with every moment, every passing moment. Rather, it increases. So, which means real happiness stays in the things that are eternal in nature. Now, you already know what is eternal in nature. It is the soul, it is the happiness of the soul. That is why that which brings us the real happiness, we allow the child to explore it in its own way. The child carries its own intuition. The child carries its own, unique expression. It's the unique expression of the child, which is the language of its soul, right? He or she has taken birth to experience that uniqueness. But when we try to put the child into, our own philosophy, our own thing, what happens is we are trying to, you know, uh, shun that creative element that is, coming from the space of soul, right? So differentiation says that our child can always have something different than ours. So if there are emotions that you have struggled with, you can always work on yourself and make a choice that you're not going to pass this to your own child, right? You can always have something different to your child, right? So for example, just to give you an example, let's say uh, when you were a child, your mother father were not carrying that financial freedom. They did not give you a life of luxury, let's say. And now when you have grown older, you carry this thought that come what may, whatever happens, I will not give that life to the child. But you must see what space is it coming from. Is it coming from a space wherein you felt that you were not given enough, and that's why you're feeling it? If it is that, then be ready, your child will still experience the same thing that you experience. You can always give something different to the child, but with deep respect to what you had. So only when, as a parent, you feel that you received enough, even if it was less, but it was enough, and you carry the deep respect for your children, for your parents, then your children are going to absorb it. Then you will be able to parent your children in the same way, that they respect, they value what you receive. Until then whatever luxuries you create, they will never value it because you did not value it. So differentiation says that your emotions can be different from the emotions of your children, and they can have something different than yours. Principle of fullness and respect, right? So what is fullness and respect? Fullness and respect says that everybody who takes birth on the child is full. And this shloka, this mantra that is spoken in our Upanishads, which says Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate, which says that here is fullness, there is fullness. And when the fullness is taken out from the fullness, what remains is fullness. We are made from that whole space, dear friends. Whatever we call it God, we call it Allah, we call it Bhagwan, we call it light. We have come from that full space. So when we are children of that full space, we are full in our own self. Right? In worldly terms, we may feel, oh, I don't have more money, that means I'm less. Oh, I don't carry that self-confidence, that means I'm less. Oh, I'm not that successful as my neighbor, that means I'm less. That is what every adult is struggling with. You're trying to have eyes on what others are achieving, and you're trying to achieve it based on that. Being too competitive, whatever you're doing should come from a space of fullness. If it is coming from the space of lack, you give whatever to it, you still will experience lack, and this lack will never get satiated. But when you come from the space of fullness, that you are full, and same goes with your child. The child's fullness is not decided by how many marks the child scores, how the child respects the mother father. Child is full despite of whatever, be it the child who grew up as Osama bin Laden, or be it the child who grew up as Narendra Modi or Barack Obama. Anybody, right? Because they carry, everybody in their own respect is full. So for every parent, they must know that their child is full, irrespective of whatever they achieve in life or what they don't achieve. That fullness should always be presented to them. But if in your words you carry, oh, you are a dumb fellow, you are an idiot, you don't listen to me, you're good for nothing, you are actually trying to feed in the child that there is something wrong with you. And trust me, the words that parents say, the teachers say, it has a deep impact on who they feel within. So if they don't feel within full, they are going to feel that lack. And this is the biggest thing that we all are feeling as an adult, right? We have gone away from this fullness, the fullness element that we carried within us. And respect. Respect says every child needs to be, since it is full, it needs to be considered as full individual, right? Mostly what happens is when the child is small, every decision is taken by mother, father, right? Of course, the decision needs, their own ways of looking at things, but the decisions that are related to the child as well. Most of the times we pass on what is to be done, right? But the child needs to be respected as a proper entity living in the world, right? They have their own say. And trust me, when the child grows up from the space of respect, there are going to be great repercussions of it. First, the child will respect you. The second thing is the child will learn to respect itself, which is most important. The child will learn to respect that I matter, right? And when the child matters, the child is going to create, a life which is, based in in the energy of the soul based learning, right? So the principle of fullness and principle of respect. Whatever happens, respect the child. And the next one, principle of suggestion. Now, most of the times, what happens is when we are, adults, we believe in giving the rules to the child. Always the child is given rules. This needs to be done. This should not be done. Right? You did not listen to me. You should listen to me. I am telling you, do this, do that. But children actually don't need rules. They need suggestions. Right? They need guidelines. You can always suggest something and let them come up with the decision, right? So that decision could be from their own space. So for example, let's say a mother who is struggling with the child, what the child is going to eat, and you bring something that that is healthy for the child, and you're going to bring it to the child as a rule that this is what you should eat. The child is not going to eat it, right? Because the child doesn't feel that it's going to be, that the child should eat it. You should always bring things in the form of suggestions. There should be options out of which the child can always decide. Let's say there could be 3 or 4 options that the mother can present to the child, so that we cook the same thing that the child wants to eat, right? And that is what we call as principle of suggestion, right? So for example, even in the space, let's say one fine day you saw that the child has scored less in his class exam, right? and and the child comes at home and you see the notebook, or maybe the teacher tells you, the child is already in the state of panic because the child knows that he has scored less. But usually what a parent does is the child parent begins to chide the child the same, in right there and then. They take them left and right there and then. But the child already knows that, it has happened. So instead of showing your panic, you kind of bursting the child there with your own words. It is in those moments you should first make the child comfortable, right? Tomorrow your child goes through a nervous breakdown. Would you still consider the studies most important, or would you consider the wholeness of your child most important? Whatever the child should, lose, but your child should never lose that he can come to his parents and can speak to them, whatever has happened. right? So don't close that door. So which is why, for this, let's say now this mother who is struggling, the child who has scored less, you can always, instead of saying, oh, you didn't study, I told you that you should study, you never listened to me, and you are an idiot, only your father is now going to come and handle you, all these things, this is not going to work. The fear based approach is not going to work. You can always sit with the child and always ask the child, what do you feel about your marks? And I'm sure the child will tell you it is less, mama. And then you can always ask the child, if it is less, what do you think we should do? The child doesn't need all of your, advices at times. The child has its own advice. Let that inner wisdom come from within. And when that advice comes from within, the child will be wholeheartedly towards it. And trust me, if you are able to hold the child in the space of that panic with love, the child will understand that now I will do it, right? Because he has understood that my mother, father are with me, they love me. So work on the principle of suggestion rather than creating rules around the child. The principle of validation. Now, what does validation means? Validation means saying, acknowledging and understanding the emotions, the fears, the whatever the child is feeling, being able to understand and acknowledge it. Most of the times, what happens is whenever the child says something, mother or father cuts the word and say, "You don't know it. It is like this." Right? You you actually kind of express poor listening skills to the child. And when the child is not validated for whatever the child has experienced, then the child will feel that there is something wrong with me. And when the moment this seed is being sown that there is something wrong in me, it will continue to bring that doubt, even if whatever it does as an adult, right? So which is why I don't say that you agree to all that child says, but in order for the child to see the perspective that you hold, you first must understand and acknowledge the feelings, the emotions, whatever the child has experienced. Because if you don't do it, the child has already gone into the shell by listening to your no, right? The child has already made a decision that whatever I'm experiencing, it is wrong. So validate, right? So whenever the child says something, for example, the child comes to you and speaks to you about something that it saw on television, right? Instead of saying, oh, why did you see this, this is not nice, where did you learn this from, and all these things we kind of bombard on them, we first listen to them, right? We understand that, and we listen to them with rapt attention, with quality attention, not like that you are on your mobile and then the child is constantly blabbering around you. No, not like that. Give your rapt attention to the child, because the child would deserve the attention, and understand it properly, acknowledge it, and then you can say that, I understand what you say and I hear you out. These are the words that we can say. I hear you, I can listen to you. uh, if you want to say nice or good, if you feel, depending on the question that they have asked, you can always say that. And then you can say, I feel this. I feel this. Don't say this is how it should be done. No, because whatever you are saying, you're also saying it from your perspective. I feel that we should do this, right? Always engage in a conversation with the child. Don't give them straight lines and say it's done. No, validate it, because the more you engage them in the conversations, the more the child is going to be growing into it's going to harness its creativity, explore it more, right? So validate what the child feels. Principle of engagement. Principle of engagement says engage with your child. Most of the times I have seen, you know, parents struggle. Oh, the child, you know, is too much on the laptop and, you know, on the screen, and what should we do? There is one very important reason that your child is too much engaged on laptops and on screens. The very first thing is the moment child feels bored. You know, for example, a child comes to you and say, "Oh, I'm feeling bored." As parents, what we do is we immediately try to address it. You know, we immediately try to do something. Oh, because if he's bored, that means he's going to be around me and he will not let me do the work. So in your own energy, you want to avoid the child. That's why you are so bothered about the boredom of the child, right? And we want to immediately address it. And then what we do is, okay, let me give him mobile or iPad or screen where he can sit, and then at least for some time he will not uh, you know take my peace away, and he'll be sorted, and this way the boredom will go away. But do we think that it is really going to work? Why not to think boredom as an opportunity for the child to explore in its own creative pursuits, right? The science says, I mean, the our whole life, if you see, the moment we have felt bored, it is actually leading us to create something new. So boredom is not that it is here to, so that you can kill the time with the old things and try to save yourself. No, boredom is something which is an opportunity for you to find something new, some different gift of your soul, right? It is trying to explore and churn your own creative energy. That needs engagement of the child. You just can't say the child, let's say, the child is bored and you say go and paint. The child is not going to go and paint. You need to engage with the child, engage in conversations with the child, have tea time conversations. Even if the child doesn't drink the tea, you can play kitchen and get into those conversations every day. 15 minutes, let's say, that kitchen game, and wherein we engage with the child in those conversations. That is what is needed, because if we don't do that, we will not be able to allow the child to open up to us, right? So that is very, very important. So engage with the child, and engage without any hesitation that, oh, I won't get my personal time and all that. What is the most important parameter of a good parenting? The most important parameter of a good parenting is that either the parent or the child, they are not avoiding each other. So as parents, at times we try to avoid. Our energy is like that. Oh, I have worked for a long day, now I can't be with the child. Then I say, now I give it to my spouse and I say, you handle him or you handle her. So in a way, that's already deciding. This is one of the biggest parameter of, are we trying to avoid each other or are we trying to be with each other? And then what happens is, this child grows up and begins to avoid us. It wants to sit in the room alone, and then mom and dad keep barging in, breaking the boundaries. And then what? Because initially you did not make that bonding with the child. You avoid it, right? So when you avoid it, the child grows up in the same way. And you will also notice, your child will love that person the most who doesn't avoid them, right? It could be a teacher, it could be a parent, it could be a home help. Who doesn't avoid them, the child will be deeply bonded to that. And when the child is deeply bonded to them who don't avoid them, they will always listen to them. Whatever they say, they will always listen to them. So be that parent who doesn't avoid to be engaging with the child. Because when you come in that state, your child will always listen to you. The principle of trust, right? Every child needs to be trusted, right? And every child needs to be, be able to trust the parents, right? Because that is what the principle of trust says. But if parents have, if they are not in the space of being conscious, at times they break the trust of the child. Because then the child feels that, I can't trust them. So for example, if I give you an example, when we were small, when we were in kindergarten, the moment we will come home from the kindergarten, we will move around our mother and we will tell her all that we did. Oh, I learned this spellings and I did this, I ate this, I played with this friend, all these things, right? But the moment this child grows up, then the mother goes around to ask the child what happened in the school. I'm sure you must have seen this difference. What happened in between? It is the breach of trust. Because now the child doesn't feel that he can go to the mother, father, and can speak anything and everything that happened in his life. And why? Because the moment he will say this, the mother and father will get into their own zone of guarding him and giving him the gyan and say, oh, why did you do this? I told you not to do this, not to do that, and you don't listen to us. All that gyan will start then. So, which is why the child says it's better not to show this side of ours to them. And then the child creates a hiding shadow self within, which doesn't want to trust the parents because he feels that parents will not believe in him. And that's it. When the child is not able to grow the trust on parents, the child will not be able to grow trust on self. The child will not be able to trust life, right? And then we are cautious of everything. And when we don't trust, we know where do we reach. We are not able to trust the uncertainty. We feel, oh, uncertainty is there in life to, pin me down. No, the uncertainty could also be a great surprise, right? Who is certain about the future? Nobody. Are you certain about your second moment? What happens from now? We are not. So uncertainty is the very nature of life. But when we don't trust this uncertainty that it is going to take care of me and it has arrangement for everything, we are going to be cautious of everything. We are going to be not exploring the life in the way we are here to do. That's what the principle of trust says. Whatever happens in the life of, the mother, the father, the child, don't close the door of trust. That your child is always able to come to you and speak to you and is able to trust on you. That is what the child feels protected and safe in. And the last one that says principle of appreciation. Be open to appreciate your child. Now, this doesn't mean that you sing songs for your child. You must give the child realistic appreciation. If your child, you know, let's say, scored, let's say, less in the school, and you're saying, oh, you did really well, you scored really well, it's not a realistic appreciation. For example, uh, the child carries this color skin which is wheatish in nature, and you say to the child, oh, you are such a fair child, it's like you are nullifying the fact, right? So instead of making the child comfortable with the wheatish complexion, you are saying only fair is accepted and you are fair only. It's a magical belief which doesn't exist, right? It has, so it's not realistic appreciation. You must learn to appreciate your child in a realistic manner, right? And appreciate them often, right? Because if you appreciate it, as parents we appreciate them, they are going to grow healthy, their immunity will be strong, right? They will understand that you know they are wanted, right? Initially every child needs to know, feel that they are wanted. But the moment you begin to do something which creates a rejection from them, for them, they begin to feel they don't matter, they don't matter to this world, right? So which is why we should have uh, healthy appreciation for the child, realistic appreciation for the child, and that is going to really help them. Know that we can only blame parents, we can only talk about parents, what they did not give to us till the time we were dependent on them. Now that you have grown up in the age of 25, we must take charge of healing what we felt, right? They were narcissists from our eyes, not that, from their eyes, they always did what they could do, right? They did the best. So, which is why whatever happened, happened. It's important that you now take the charge and deal and learn to heal your own childhood trauma. Okay. So, these were the 10 principles that we studied. I'm also going to, tell you about this upcoming webinar that we are doing for the pre-teens and teens, which are from the age group of 8 to 14 years, which is built around the principles of soulful parenting, right? It is for children, wherein we are going to help them develop self-love, resilience, handling bullying, and how to collaborate with others and form better relationships, and how they can learn to transcend their fears. So this is the basic workshop which is going to happen. If anybody wishes to join that, they can always message us on the numbers that are given here and we will send you the details. So if anybody wants to know more about the work that we do, you can always visit the website, and you can also go to our YouTube channel, which is Live Here and Now, and subscribe to it by pressing the bell icon. It has lot many meditations and talks, which will help you to uh, know thyself, right? So on this note, thank you so much. Thank you for being with me, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Hitesh, for a wonderful session today. And there is a lot of information and lot of many examples you have given us. It's so helpful for each one of us in either solving our own issues or maybe how we can treat our own children. That's so useful. And thank you so much. So whoever wants to enroll for the upcoming workshops can contact Hitesh on his number 9899 407177. So this is his contact number.